June 2024 City Council formal meeting. We're going to be convening tonight as the local business authority and then building authority, local building authority, the RDA, and the City Council. I'm happy to see everybody here today, joining me online or in person, and we hope you'll continue to participate whichever manner you feel most comfortable. So thank you. As we always start our meetings, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and I'll, as we always do, we'll go through the public meeting rules. And again, thank you for joining us tonight. Before we move through the agenda, I want to remind everyone about our rules of decorum, which are in place to ensure our meetings move along well and that to help everyone feel comfortable sharing their comments. A copy of the full rules of decorum are available at the door, and the staff will post them on the link in Zoom. Our business items tonight include holding a public hearing regarding the proposed budgets for the fiscal year 2024 to 25. It includes several pieces since the council oversees several city entities. If you need to speak with our staff, please raise your hand in the room or on Zoom. A staff person will assist you. For those who are in Zoom, our staff person, London Kelly, can assist you with registration issues or technical questions. Taylor Hill on our staff will call those who wish to comment based on the order we receive their names. If you are on Zoom, please unmute your mic when Taylor calls your name, and each person will have 2 minutes, and we will call on each person who has signed up to speak. And just as a reminder, our goal is to create a safe space for everyone to share and participate in the meeting. So please follow our public comment rules when making remarks. Disruptions and threats to anyone's safety are not allowed. If anyone uses discriminatory language, curses, or disruption occurs, we're going to pause your comments and remind you about your rules before you continue. So the first item on the agenda is the LBA public hearings. And as the local builders authority, we will take comments on the LBA public hearing for items B1 regarding the resolution of the budget of the local building authority for fiscal year 2024 to 25. And before taking any comments, I'm going to turn the time over to Jennifer Bruno, our Council Deputy Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first hearing will address the fiscal year 25 budget for the local building authority, or LBA. The LBA is the city's financing mechanism to build facilities such as the Glendale and Marmalade Library. And this budget is the tool to pay off those bonds each year. While the title references capital projects, this does not include any of the capital projects reviewed and recommended by the mayor in the general fund CIP log. That will be at a hearing later this evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Jennifer. And Taylor, please start with the first comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We do not have anyone registered to speak to this item.
Thank you very much. I will look for a motion.
I move that the board close the public hearing and refer the item to a future date for action.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Pui, a second from Councilmember Petro. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. That passes unanimously 7-0. I will also now look for a motion to adjourn as a LBA and convene as the RDA.
Mr. Chair, move that we adjourn as a local building authority of Salt Lake City, and we reconvene as a redevelopment agency of Salt Lake City.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Pui, a second from Councilmember Lopez Chavez. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. That passes unanimously. And now we are convening as the RDA. As the RDA, we have a public hearing, item D1, and we'll be accepting comments as the resolution for the budget for the redevelopment agency of Salt Lake City for fiscal year 2024 to 25. And the same rules apply, and I will turn the time back over to Jennifer Bruno for a short intro.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. The next hearing pertains to the fiscal year 25 budget of the Redevelopment Agency of Salt Lake City. To clarify, if there are comments about the proposed city or library budgets, those comments should be directed to the council in the item later tonight. The RDA budget was discussed in a work session on May 21st, and recordings and a staff report for that item can be found on the council's budget website, which is tinyurl.com/SLC-FY25. Thanks.
Thank you, Jennifer. And Taylor, our first commenter, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There is one person registered to speak to this item. That will be Christopher J. Christopher, you may now unmute.
Hello, City Council. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, you can.
Okay, I would like to speak about the budget for the RDA. My suggestion to you is that it include no supposed tax increase revenue, and that the budget for the RDA should be based solely on corporate sponsorships and private donations. If the council does not take my advice and votes to set up a sales tax increase, I propose that a major portion of that should be set aside to go into the funds to renovate a Bravenel Hall. Thank you. This is my comment.
Thank you very much. And Taylor, was that just the only commenter?
That was the final registered commenter for this item.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, I move that the board close the public hearing and refer the item to a future date for action.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Council Member Puya, second from Board Member Puya, second from Board Member Petro. Any questions about the motion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. That motion passes unanimously. And I will now look for a motion to adjourn as the RDA and convene as the City Council.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adjourn as the Redevelopment Agency of Salt Lake City and that we reconvene as the Salt Lake City Council of Salt Lake City.
Second.
I have a motion from Board Member Puya, second from Board Member Petro. Any discussion? See no discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes unanimously.
I'm an aye, thanks.
That motion passes unanimously. So now we are convening as the Salt Lake City Council. And at this time, I'll go through the meeting rules a little bit further. Again, individuals may register to comment on scheduled public hearing items until the hearing is closed. And for the general comment section, we will accept signups until 7:30. The general comment section has been changed to 1 hour, and if you are here to speak, to give general comments, not everyone who signed up may be able to speak. But we will always welcome emails, text messages for your comments. I just want to run through our meeting rules, and these are designed so that we can conduct city business, ensure that the meetings are safe, orderly, and free from intimidation. We will not be giving multiple warnings about these following rules. To keep our reactions from affecting your ability to share our opinion freely, council members are going to refrain from reacting to responding to allow everyone to share their opinions freely. When making your comments, please address the body and not just individuals' elected officials. If you have a handout for the council, please do not approach the dais. Just raise your hand and the council staff will assist you. Council staff are available during and after the meeting to help with any questions or information sharing. Avoid use of threatening and discriminatory language. Do not insult others based on religion, ethnicity, race, color, gender, sexual orientation, physical ability. And whether you agree or disagree with someone's comment, clapping, cheering, shouting, booing, snapping, gesturing, obstructing, or discouraging others from commenting is not allowed. The full meeting rules are listed at the door, and our staff will post the link in Zoom. And this will bring us to item F2, which the council will approve the work session meeting minutes of February 6, 2024, March 26, 2024, and May 7th, 2024, as well as the formal meeting minutes of April 16th, 2024. I look for a motion.
Chair, I move that the council approve the work session meetings of February 6th, March 26th, and May 7th of 2024, as well as the formal meeting minutes of April 16th, 2024.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Lopez Chavez, a second from Councilmember Wharton. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Seeing none, that motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item F3 has been moved to a future date. And this brings us to the council public hearing section of our agenda. And as always, our same rules of decorum apply. And if you do need to speak to a staff, raise your hand, or in the Zoom room, give a call out to London. Taylor Hill and our staff will be calling those who wish to comment based on the order where you see the names. And if you're on Zoom, please unmute your mic when Taylor calls your name. And each person will have 2 minutes, and we will call on each person who has signed up to speak. And just as a reminder, our goal is to create a safe space for everyone to share and participate in the meeting. So please follow our public comment rules when making your remarks. And use of any discriminatory language, curses, disruption occurs, we're going to pause and remind you that, and that you won't be able to comment any longer. And as always, and I just always have to remind everybody here, please be respectful when sharing your comments. Avoid the yelling, using profanity, and making racial slurs and obscene or defamatory remarks. If you violate these rules, we will mute you and you will forfeit your chance to address the council tonight. If you feel you need to use such language, you can express your opinions. You can always email the council staff or leave a phone message on our 24-hour comment line. We'll now turn to item G, the public hearing. And our first public hearing, G1, is for the ordinance Title 18 text amendment. And before taking comments, we're going to turn the time over to Nick Tarbett, council staff policy analyst, to give a short intro.
All right, this proposed ordinance would amend various sections of the city code pertaining to the boarded building fees and the enforcement of building code violations. These changes include updating references to state code, modifying building code enforcement and the appeal process, increasing building enforcement fines and penalties to match enforcement and cost of operations.
Thank you, Nick. Taylor, please start with our first commenter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We do not have anyone registered to speak to this item.
Thank you. I will look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that the council close the public hearing and defer action to a future council meeting.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Puig, second by Councilmember Petro. Any questions on this? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Now we're moving on to item G2, an ordinance planning and Historic Landmark Commission membership and appeals hearing officer term limit text amendment. Before taking comments, I'm going to turn the time over to Brian Fulmer, staff policy analyst, to give us a short intro.
Thank you. This is a proposal from the administration to amend the zoning ordinance to reduce the minimum number of members of each commission mentioned to 5. If the council would like to adopt the ordinance tonight following the public hearing, there is an option to do so on the motion sheet. The administration requested the ordinance be published as soon as possible if the council votes to adopt, so the 2 affected commissions can have a quorum for their meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Taylor, please start with our first public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There is one person registered to speak to this item. That will be Cindy Cromer. Cindy is here in person.
My name is Cindy Cromer. You knew that I would show up for this one, right? I want to reflect on the challenges of reaching a quorum for decision-making bodies such as the Planning and Landmarks Commissions. I have observed what you could describe as self-imposed hardships. If the city uses these commissions as a proving ground for selecting new members of the city council or the administration, then the abrupt departures can certainly contribute to the difficulties of reaching a quorum. And the impacts are not limited to the challenge of meeting a quorum if the departing commissioners have highly relevant skill sets, which was the case at the beginning of the Mendenhall administration. Secondly, I see a self-imposed hardship when the city fails to screen applicants for the commission relative to the demands of the appointments, although I would have to say that it should be perfectly obvious to anyone that the demands of serving on the Planning Commission are significant. Additionally, it becomes obvious that some appointees are intent upon expressing their own ideas instead of evaluating the proposals in terms of the adopted ordinances. Surely it would be possible to use structured interviews, references, or role plays to evaluate the likelihood that a nominee will dismiss the adopted ordinances. An erratic decision-making process laden with personal opinion does not serve the petitioner, the public, or the long-term interests of the city. In summary, you can rob Peter to pay Paul, but don't expect Peter to continue to perform as well for a while. And the city's ordinances are like the Constitution. Support them or act within the established process to change them. Thank you.
That was the final register commenter for this item.
Thank you. I will look for a motion.
Okay, I'll do it. I move that the council close the public hearing and adopt the ordinance with the understanding that the city recorder will publish the ordinance as soon as possible.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Pizarro, a second from Councilwoman Young. Any discussion on this item? Seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Our last public hearing until the general includes item G3 through G11. These are ordinances that are associated with the implementation of the mayor's recommended budget for Salt Lake City, including the library fund for the fiscal year 2024-25. This is our second budget public hearing. And before we take any public comments, I'll turn the time over to Jennifer Bruno, our senior policy analyst, to give us a short intro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The council considers all ordinances relating to the fiscal year budget in one hearing, as they are all needed collectively to implement the mayor's recommended budget for fiscal year 25, including the library. Tonight's public hearing addresses ordinances G3 to G11. The various ordinances set property tax rates and budget levels, address fees and compensation, among other items. For the public's information and those that not be aware, departments are discussed in detail at each of the council's public work sessions through May and June, which typically start at 1 p.m. Recordings of those discussions are available online at the council's website, as are staff analyses of each department. More information can be found on the council's website at tinyurl.com/SLCFY25. Thanks.
Thank you, Jennifer. And I just want to remind the listeners and in person that this hearing, these G3 through G11, are specific to the mayor's recommended budget. And so the comments should be maintained on this topic. And if not, we'll just stop the comments at that point. So appreciate your comments. And Taylor, please start with our first public commenter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have 8 people registered to speak to these items. The first will be Julia McGonagall, followed by Bill Hurt, and then Julian Jerkowitz. Julia is here in person.
Oh, here she comes.
Hi, my name's Julia McGonagall, and I am here to speak to the mayor's proposal for a 26% increase in salary. I'm completely opposed to this because in the real world that we all live in, we get pay increases according to our performance, and her performance has been abysmal at best. I believe that the mayor has not passed any initiatives that have really made this city better. In addition, I think that it is absurd that the mayor is asking for an over $2,000 budget when that is the top 12% of earnings in the United States. The average median constituent of Utah has $60,000 of salary, and the mayor has not passed any policies that help address the suffering of these low-income constituents. Furthermore, in 2019, Joel LaSalle donated $2,000 to Mayor Mendenhall's campaign, and the RDA then a month later sold the Pantages Theater to the LaSalle Group for $0. If that's not corruption, I don't know what it is. Do not oppose. I think that we should be giving salary increases to firefighters, policemen, other council members who are underpaid, and librarians, not the mayor who's doing a terrible job.
Next will be Bill Hurt, followed by Julian Jerkowitz, and then Christina Robb. Bill is here in person.
Good evening. My name is Bill Hurt. I am a tax-paying citizen of this town. I could hardly believe my eyes when I read about this proposed increase for the mayor and the council, just for the sheer audacity of asking for a raise of this magnitude. It's preposterous. Nobody I know ever gets that kind of a raise, and I've been working all my life as a professional, as an engineer, never experienced anything like this. From what I read in the Tribune, this would put the mayor's salary above or equal to mayors of far larger cities in the West, including Sacramento, much greater population over there. How can it be worthwhile to give her this amount of money and then have the council ride along on her coattails because they get an equal bump if this goes through? I think it's totally wrong. I know everybody's got to make a living, including me, but I just think this is an abuse of the authority, the tax levying authority, which can levy a tax and basically vote themselves a pay raise. I think it's all wrong. Thank you.
Next will be Julian Jerkowick, followed by Christina Robb, and then Lily Robb. Julian is here in person.
Hello, Council. Thanks for seeing me tonight and hearing us. My name is Julian Jerkowick. I'm a proud resident of Salt Lake City, District 4, and a board member of Sweet Street, Salt Lake City. Last meeting, I voiced my frustrations with the enormous gap in funding between what the Public Lands Department requested for the Green Loop project and what was given in the budget. Today, I'm voicing my frustrations at a similar lack in funding for the Safer Crossings program, which is also underfunded by 70%, receiving just $300,000 compared to the $900,000 it received last year. The prevailing belief is that we in Salt Lake City do not need to spend money on safer crossings. I pose to you all the question, does a little orange flag make you feel safe when you cross a 7-lane highway like State Street, which cuts through the center of our city? Would you like a child to be crossing 700 east by themselves, or 400, 500, 600 south? Do you feel safe crossing these streets designed like highways where ever larger SUVs and trucks come barreling down at obscene speeds? If you do, perhaps you should not. Just this year, so far, 4 people in our community have been killed in traffic violence, with 15 injured. In the 3 years preceding, 53 people in our community have died, with many more injured with potentially life-altering consequences because we continue to drag our feet in practicing good urbanism and moving towards the Vision Zero, which our mayor has committed to. Traffic fatalities are not the cost of doing business. They're a design failure, and we can design our streets to be safer for pedestrians and drivers alike. Oslo, Norway, for example, a city 3 times the population of Salt Lake City, had 1 traffic fatality in 2019, just 1. We must fund this Safer Streets, Safer Crossings program because we have people, our neighbors, our kin dying in our streets, and yet we slash the budget for Safer Crossings, we slash the budget for the Green Loop, for a raised crosswalk at 400 South, and for livable streets. I ask, how is this conscionable? Thank you.
Next will be Christina Robb, followed by Lily Robb, and then Wendy Garvin. Christina is here in person.
Good evening. My name is Christina Robb, and I am here tonight as a frequent flyer. I'm not sure you guys know what a frequent flyer is, but it's somebody with a medical need that puts you in an ambulance a lot in order to transport you to an emergency room. So I'm here to speak on the budget item number 9, appropriating necessary funds to implement provisions of the MOU for the firefighters. Specifically, and I just want to tell you about what happened when I got sick, in that I spent a lot of time volunteering as a street-level crisis interventionist beginning in 2015. This didn't happen because of anything other than I was really sick, and I saw a lot of other people also suffering. I specifically worked a lot with youth, and for this reason, I end up calling 911 a lot. 911, we can talk about that at a different time, but I just want to be really clear that the mid-level firefighters that are referenced in the Citizens Compensatory Board annual review are the ones I'm speaking to tonight. I mean, we know they're underfunded, so I'm not going to belabor that. but I am going to state very clearly that we need to think about these young folks in context of how they're planning their lives. And when we're doing these 3-year budget analysis, the numbers do show a nice raise, but not to the extent of the market rate that they've been promised and the reason why they decided to stay here in Salt Lake City. That's all I have to say, but I want you to look a little closer at those numbers and how they really affect human beings. Thank you.
Next will be Lily Robb, followed by Wendy Garvin, and then Simon Rapowski. Lily is here in person.
Hello, I am Lily Robb, and I'm also speaking to number 9 on the fiscal budget. I have worked with a privately owned EMS company that contracts with Salt Lake City Fire for the past 6 years. The men and women that work for Salt Lake City Fire are my friends, coworkers, and even more importantly, the people that my family members rely on in crisis. These men and women leave their families to live at the fire stations for, on average, 56 hours each week. They train hard every day so that they can better serve our community. Through the pandemic, our call volume nearly doubled in the city, and all other healthcare workers, including myself, received significant raises while they did not. Today, the call volumes are still as high as ever. These men and women have continued to show up for us day after day still. I know what the public perspective looks like. I know what we see on social media, but I also know that these men and women are burnt out and struggling. The majority of them cannot afford to live in Salt Lake. They cannot afford to buy houses or cars. Many of them can barely afford to have children or take care of their families. The majority of them are working at least 1 or 2 jobs in addition to working for Salt Lake City Fire. The wage differences between what Salt Lake City Fire and surrounding cities currently make is severely lacking, which is something the Citizen Advisory Committee has already pointed out in their annual budget report. These men and women are proud to work for the capital city and cherish the opportunity to do so. But if the city makes them fight so hard for the market wage they not only have been promised, but that they deserve, it will leave many of them feeling unsupported, to say the least. As a resident of Salt Lake City, I want my local firefighters to feel supported, and I don't want them to feel that they have no choice but to leave the department in the future. I hope you, as the mayor and city council, can agree. Thank you.
Next will be Wendy Garvin, followed by Simon Rakinski, and then SW. Wendy, you may now unmute.
Hi, folks. Nice to see you again. I'm just here for something really quick. I know you guys have been discussing bathrooms for our unsheltered population and for the whole general public. I just wanted to say that I'm strongly in support of this initiative, and it will bring a dignity back to both the people who are living on the street and just those who enjoy our public parks and our city and our walkability. So I just wanted to speak in support of this bathroom initiative and really thank you for taking this into serious consideration. Thank you all so much, and I'll give you back the rest of my time.
Next will be Simon Rakinski, followed by SW, and then Jeff Baer. Simon is here in person.
Good evening, council members. My name is Simon Rusinski, and I'm here this evening to speak in opposition to item G11 on the budget. I think most people here, most people who come to city council meetings in general, are concerned about their city, and I think that's a good thing. And I think a lot of people out there nowadays, I know many of my friends as well, look around the city and they see a lot of issues, issues that aren't necessarily being adequately addressed. And my concern is that an increase even of only $45,000 or so dollars could be better allocated to dealing with some of the issues that our city is facing. And so I'll keep my time pretty short and simple. But to quote, I believe it was Plato from the Republic, and not an exact quote here, but it's always kind of stuck with me from my college years. Those who are best suited to govern are those who often want to govern the least. And I think that should speak to an attitude of public service and care for the city that we live in that should come across in our elected officials. And I believe that allocating that amount of money to other issues that our city is facing, affordable housing, issues of unequitably distributed green space on the west side, just to name a few. I think that money could be better spent elsewhere. So I would urge you guys to kind of take a look around the city as you're walking around and traveling around and think about some of those issues that perhaps we could better address with some of these funds. Thank you.
Next will be SW, followed by Jeff Bear, and then Roberto Tamayo. SW, you may now unmute.
Thank you very much for your time. I'd like to address the budget that the mayor has proposed for herself to get a raise of 26%. What about the people who actually operate the city, the civil engineers, the water departments, the trash collectors? All of us are getting a 5% raise. She's proposing a 26% for herself. It doesn't seem very fair that her people that run the city are getting such a small amount of raise, and it's just basically a cost of living raise where we struggle every day to just make our ends meet. And then also on her budgets for a lot of the trails and green space stuff, infrastructure is a big thing in Salt Lake City. A lot of our stuff is well over 100 plus years old. It seems like a lot of it is neglected, and we could probably use a lot of that money to improve our infrastructure. That's pretty much all I have to say. I can give time back to you guys. Thanks.
Next will be Jeff Bear, followed by Roberto Tamayo, and then John Hall. Jeff is here in person.
With the budget, the CIP grant program needs to be funded as part of the budget. This past year, very few CIP proposals were funded. Liberty Wells Community Council has been asking for traffic calming measures for years, and I personally have been asking for 17 years. Yes, 17 years. We finally got pole-mounted speed boards in 2017 on 400 East after years of requests and lobbying Mayor Becker. In 2022, there were 2 accidents on 400 East where the vehicles ended up flipped over on their roof due to their excessive speeds. Last night, standing on the sidewalk talking to 2 of my neighbors, including one from 500 East, as we watched cars flying down our street going 40 to 50 miles an hour in a 20 miles per hour residential neighborhood. And we know how fast they were going because of those speed boards. But everyone else ignores those speed boards. We again commented to each other that we don't feel safe in our own neighborhood. Liberty Wells Community Council is working with John Larson, the Transportation Department, and will be submitting a CIP grant request for speed bumps on 300 East, 400 East, and 600 East between 17 South and 2100 South. This is a coordinated plan for our neighborhood because we don't want to just install speed bumps on one street just to push the traffic onto other streets and negatively impact our neighbors. So just again, as part of the budget, please, because it seems that the only way to get speed bumps or other traffic calming measures is through the CIP program. So please fund the CIP program.
Next will be Roberto Tamayo, followed by John Hall, and then Ksenia Konosuba. Roberto is here in person.
How you doing, council members? This is my first time that I've ever had to do this. I guess I'm here today just to kind of share my personal experience because I come from a pretty decent life. I was never living in the streets. This is my first time in my life that I've actually experienced living in the streets. And so my personal opinion, when I go out and I take a look, I look at things from the perspective of mental health, and then I also take a look at economic, practically taking a look at what infrastructures are being built, so on and so forth. Just from word of mouth, because I don't keep up too much on the politics and investments and things to that nature. But I do take a look at the people that I'm seeing, and there's a lot of addiction in the streets. There's a lot of, I do see a lot of construction happening, which is great. But at the same time, we got all these people that I see when I walk by them, they're laying on the floor, sleeping next to cockroaches. And so then I ask myself, like, well, what can I do to help them? So first thing I do is if I got a little bit of food or something, I just go around, I make sure they're okay. 2 days ago, a gentleman OD'd in front of me, and I had luckily a Narcan shot. And so gentleman was dying. Everybody's over there pumping his chest, making sure he's okay. Luckily, I had a Narcan, and I said, hey, I got Narcan. Oh, give it to us. We give him a shot of Narcan. Gentleman got back his breath. He went to the hospital. The next day, he came over and said, hey, I got out of the hospital. Not once did he say thank you to me. Even I wanted to hear, like, hey, thank you. But I was like, you know what? All that matters to me is that I saved him. And I know consciously that his life is saved because I had Narcan. So when I take a look at the police and I take a look at how people treat each other, you know, the police come and they're just like, get off. Move. You gotta go. Not giving options to, and I'm not saying it's the police fault. Is that kind of it?
Yeah, that's your time. But you can always email and talk to one of our council or staff members, and they can show you where to send your comment to us.
Okay. All I would say is just I think we need a little more help for the
Yeah.
home.
So thank you very much. Thank you.
Next will be John Hall, followed by Ksenia Kusuva, and then Keg Khan. John is here in person.
Howdy, I'm John Hall and I'm homeless. I remember the first time I couldn't use somebody's restroom because I was homeless. The time I had to choose between food and taking a shower. Homeless is so much more than not having a home. It's utter despair. And you can help us by giving us restrooms, a place where we can keep clean. I had my foot amputated because I couldn't keep the wound clean. Homeless people need help out there. All of you can help us. Quit turning your eye on us. Remember, there by the grace of God go I. I didn't wake up one morning and say I wanted to be homeless. There was a time in my life I built the biggest, fanciest homes in the world. And a simple accident took it all away from me. There by the grace of God go I. We need some help. We need hygiene places. Set up some areas where we can put up tents and have a home again. Give us a shower, a restroom, things that we need that you guys take for granted. Remember that. A lot of us need help, and not all of us want to be there. In fact, I don't think any of us want to be there. And none of them woke up saying, this is what I want to be today. So remember, there by the grace of God. Thank you.
Next will be Ksenia Kamsut, followed by Keg Khan, and then Christian Keys. Ksenia is here in person.
Thank you so much for all your hard work. It's always funny how many different ways they can say my name. I heard that you guys are deliberating something really wonderful, and I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for helping people that desperately, desperately need you to fight for them. I saw a video today of in Japan of a truck full of fishes spilling, and a bunch of fishes were all over the floor or the ground, and everybody stopped, and people got out, and they just threw the fishes back into the tank. Do we want to be a civilized society that takes care of the fishes flopping around asphyxiating because they're all around us? Or do we want to be a society that operates like an oligarchy, that funds the playthings of the rich, the homes of the rich, the homes that the wealthy can afford, while ignoring the people that get their feet amputated because they cannot wash properly? I know you're probably so sick of me up here begging you over and over and over again, and I'm so happy that you guys are listening and things are moving in the right direction. And And I'm so grateful for you, but more of this and that. Sanctioned campgrounds. A man just left an apartment because he says after 20 years on the street, he can't bear to live within 4 walls. Why aren't we asking the population how they'd like to live? What can work for them? A tent under an open sky works for some. A shelter works for others. We need all of the solutions. And I thank you guys for focusing on that as a city. Laundry, bathrooms, showers, sanctioned camping, and safe parking spaces, please. And thank you very, very, very much.
Next is KegCon, followed by Christian Kiesp, and then Rashad Gray. Keg is here in person.
I don't think he's here in person.
We will move on to Christian Kiesp, and then Rashad Gray, followed by Brandon Jean-Pierre. Christian is here in person.
Christian? Yeah.
Por favor, señor, ven aquí. Nosotros queremos escuchar.
No speak English.
Es
¿Qué puede decirle por los servicios que puedan ellos están
Bueno, buenas tardes con todos. Gracias
So
por
everybody,
venir
thank you
aquí.
for, being here.
Juntos, por favor.
Okay. Bueno, yo vengo de Perú y aquí me encuentro acá un año ya en Salt Lake
I
City
found myself here 1 year in Salt Lake City.
y la verdad que yo vivo en la calle ahorita
And the reality of it,
como
truth is
8
I live in the
meses
street like about 8 months now.
y bueno, quisiera que un lugar como para poderme asear,
So he's having a difficult
dormir.
time trying to sleep. He's having a difficult time trying to find somewhere to sleep
Y
and take showers.
Busco trabajo, pero
So he finds a job, but
me piden papeles
they ask him for papers and things of that
y
nature.
no tengo economía para poder
And he doesn't
sacar
have-
papeles.
He doesn't have the financial needs to be able to get his paperwork done for immigration.
Bueno, y eso es lo que a veces voy a comer a un shelter que es
So he goes to the shelter to go eat because he needs something to eat in his stomach, and he's having a very difficult time to be able to even find a place where he can sleep, find a job.
el año pasado tuve trabajo, pero terminó el trabajo y desde ahí ya no pude
He says he
tener.
has minimal chance to be able to get a job, so he's asking for assistance in like maybe, some type of assistance where people like him can actually go find a job and stay working.
Bueno, sí, eso es
Algo así.
todo, sí.
He said that's about all he has right now. He just
Muchas
wants to
gracias.
share his story, and thank you very much for listening. Gracias.
Okay.
Gracias.
Next will be Rashad Gray, followed by Brandon Jean-Pierre, and then Shadid Gray. Rashad is here in person.
Good evening. How you doing? I just want to say that I'm 43 years old, and I just recently became homeless within this last year. And it wasn't my fault, but what I've learned since I've been on the streets is that we are being asked to be moved, and we're being kicked out of an area that has all of our resources, like our food, from Fill the Pot Church and the Wiggins Center, who gives us food all day long. And it's kind of hard and conflicting when we're just trying to be around the resources just to survive, but then we're being asked to move and be kicked out. One morning I went to a job interview and I came back and my tent was completely trashed and gone. And I lost everything what I had. I run a phone business and I fix phones and stuff, and things are being stolen from me that's not even mine, it's my client's faults. and there is no resources. Stores and businesses are cutting off power outside, so therefore we can't charge. They're also shutting down the bathrooms at nighttime where we can't go to the bathroom. Do you know how embarrassing it is to go use a number 2 inside of a bushes? It degrades us, and it doesn't feel right. And people are just sitting there, we're hungry, we just want simple shelter, but the police are telling us that we can't build up a camp to protect ourselves. So if it rains, we have to go up underneath some big ramp. We can't use no tarp or anything because the city says that we can't build up units in no camp. And if the homeless scene is something that you're trying to get rid of or to be moved, give us an area where we can go to. Because some of us are not all drug addicts. Some of us are homeless because of a situation that fell through. And I feel like as long as I'm not pushing a shopping cart, people don't have a problem talking to me, hearing me out. But the minute I push a shopping cart, that changes everything. And I'm just somebody who's trying to actually get back on my feet. You know, I'm not out there trying to sell drugs or anything like that, but
Time.
Thank you.
Next will be Brandon Jean-Pierre, followed by Shadid Gray, and then Eric Pulvis. Brandon is here in person.
In short order, this is a bit more of a dire situation than I thought the last time. First, kudos on the budget appropriated for the bathroom thing, because that's a big problem. Secondly, it's really got to be tended to in pretty short order, because right now it's kind of seeming like more of a dire issue out there, more of a humanitarian crisis, and it's not like just Salt Lake City. It's kind of going like pretty wide across the country. But I think just being here, we should probably nip this in the bud pretty quickly, because what is good for the goose is good for the gander. And as far as anything else to say, I think I should probably yield more time, because what really needs to be said is being said by other people that are living directly in it.
Next will be Shadid Gray, followed by Eric Pavlos. Shadid is here in person.
She's not here.
Next will be Eric Pavlos. Eric, you may now unmute.
Yes, I'm a member of District 6, and I just want to voice my opposition to the mayor's large proposed pay increase of almost 26%. There's really been no justification or special circumstances that justifies or merits such a large increase, especially with the situation of our infrastructure in the city and a lot of other things that have been neglected. If the council views the mayor is worthy of a pay raise, I would suggest maybe looking at giving the mayor a pay raise that's equal to the average pay raise that the employees of Salt Lake City get. I don't understand how the employees can get such a lower pay raise and the mayor's asking for 26%. I just want you to consider that. I've been in business for 30 plus years, and I've never really seen anyone get a 26% pay increase before. Thank you.
That was the final registered commenter for this item.
Thank you, Taylor, and thank you for the comments. Appreciate that. I will look for a motion for items G1 through G11.
Mr. Chair, I move that the council
G3.
sorry, close the public hearing and refer this item to a future date for action.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Wharton, a second from Councilor Lopez Chavez. Any discussion on this item?
I just want to reiterate, it's G3 through G11, correct?
Correct, G3 through G11. Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Moving on to items H, potential action items. H1 is a resolution authorizing assistance for Fairmont Heights Senior Housing Development at 2257 South, 1100 East. I will look for a motion.
Chair, I move that the council adopt the resolution and authorize the city administration to negotiate the final terms of the transaction.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Young, a second from Councilmember Lopez Chavez. Any discussion on this item? See none? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Opposed, none. So it passes unanimously. Moving on to item H2, an ordinance to budget amendment number 5 for fiscal year 2023 to 2024.
Chair, I move that the council adopt an ordinance amending the fiscal year 24 final budget of Salt Lake City, including the employment staffing document for item A5 as shown on the motion sheet. I further move that the council requests the administration recommend guidance for where roundabouts should be placed, taking into consideration air quality in areas with greater pedestrian traffic.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Petro, a second from Councilmember Pui. Any discussion on this item? See none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. And I'm moving on to, I think that's all the H. Moving on to the comments. Questions for the mayor? Council? Thank you, Mayor, for joining us here tonight. Rachel, appreciate that. Council, have any questions? All right. Moving on to the comments to the City Council. We're now at the general comment portion of our agenda and welcome your comments to any items of interest. If you're joining us after 7:30 and you missed the opportunity to sign up, staff has written comment cards you can use, and you can always send us an email or a phone message. Before we begin taking comments, we'd like to emphasize our rules of decorum one more time. And any behavior that is threatening, disruptive, or creates an unsafe environment will not be tolerated. When you're unable to maintain these rules, we've had members of the public feel intimidated and leave the meeting. So if any of these rules are not being followed, we will ask the staff to assist you out of the meeting. If this standard is not being observed, we will call a recess. So it's just as before, our rules of decorum still remain. If you're on Zoom and you have any questions, you can contact London Kelly for assistance. Taylor Hill and our staff will be calling those who wish to comment in order of registration and collect the comment cards. If you're on Zoom, please unmute your mic and Taylor will call your name. You have 2 minutes to speak, and please maintain the rules of decorum with your comments. Thank you very much. Our goal is to maintain a safe and orderly meeting so that we can hear from you as many as possible over the next hour. Taylor, please open the first general comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There are about 10 people registered for general comments. The first will be Christopher J., followed by Russell Erb, and then Colleen Salinas. Christopher, you may now unmute.
Good evening, Council. I'd like to say a few more words about Abravanel Hall. The Utah Symphony is a state treasure. It serves not only Salt Lake City and Salt Lake County, but adjoining counties, and the symphony travels to all over the state. The Utah Symphony is not just a state treasure, but Abravanel Hall is a state treasure. It's renowned throughout the country. It's among the top performance halls. Therefore, I think that the residents of Salt Lake City should not be tasked with the whole responsibility of funding its renovation. I think that the county and the state should chip in money to make this happen. I'd like to encourage you to actively support and advocate for the renovation of Abravanel Hall and to push back against any thought or even hint of rebuilding it. I'd like to say that $200 million is excessive as a price tag for renovation. I believe that there is a number of things included in that figure which are not necessary at all. I think Abravanel Hall renovation must be limited to what is essential and indispensable, and any other updates beyond that should be funded by private donations only. Thanks. Bye.
Next will be Russell Erb, followed by Colleen Salinas, and then Jen Colby. Russell, you may now unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. This is in regards to the development around the Delta Center with the proposed tax increase. I just feel inflation is becoming the new homeless crisis, and I am concerned about the proposed solution of increasing taxes, particularly on those who can't afford it. As you're aware, inflation affects everything from food to gas and even housing prices. With cities certainly need to grow and develop, I believe there are better ways to achieve this through tax hikes. The current proposal not only incentivizes tax increases, but grants a 99-year lease on that land for development with few restrictions and with tax incentives for those developers. This benefits only the billionaires, which pushes out current residents and turning downtown areas into exclusive destinations. I have witnessed this pattern in other cities where development occurs, and it only exacerbates the problem of housing affordability. I urge you to reconsider this approach and find alternative ways to develop the area without burdening residents with increased taxes. Thank you.
And next will be Colleen Salinas, followed by Jen Colby, and then Bill Hurt. Colleen is here in person.
Colleen? Colleen's not here, Taylor.
And next will be Jen Colby, followed by Bill Hurt, and then Misty Myers. Jen is here in person.
Hello, Jen Colby, District 4 resident. These are my personal comments. I strongly oppose a 30-year tax increase that would subsidize ultra-wealthy corporate sports owners versus all of the other needs in our city to which leadership pleads poverty. Other than Alta and Brighton, Salt Lake City's sales tax rate is already the highest in the county. Sales taxes are deeply regressive and undermine economic justice goals the city claims to promote. The majority of economic analyses conclude that public funding for professional sports teams is a poor investment versus in legitimate public goods. Economic benefits are greatly exaggerated due to opportunity costs because sports compete with other local businesses and options for people's time and money. None of the funding would advance key city plans or transportation, air quality, or climate mitigation goals. The proposed undergrounding of 300 West is a terrible idea that would just make adjacent blocks even worse car sewers, complete with ugly tunnel barrier walls. We need well-designed pedestrian zones, like out here between City Council and the library when the street's closed, and complete protected bicycle networks throughout downtown, not this. This will be a sports district only, harming local cherished arts groups and facilities. Subsidizing billionaire team owners while undermining children's organized sports with unaffordable playing field fees seems utterly backwards. In a supposedly fiscally conservative state, I would expect this whole boondoggle to be outright rejected. It amazes me it has any traction with city officials. I'm disappointed by the city and county mayor's cheerleading. At 60 years old, I still feel naive about how power and money often wield so much undue influence behind the scenes. The Smith Group's PR team is appealing to fan emotion and city boosterism mixed with relocation threats and fear to overcome solid, rational arguments. The short summer timeframe deliberately undermines public engagement. I used to be a huge jazz fan, not anymore. City Council has full authority to vote this down according to the legislation. Please call Alpine resident Ryan Smith's bluff. If he follows through and gets a better deal elsewhere, so be it. $1.2 million a year in sales tax revenue is chump change in a $2 billion budget. There are better ways to do this. Please vote no. Thank you.
Next will be Bill Hurt, followed by Misty Myers, and then Monica Hilding. Bill is here in person.
Back again. This is a fairly trivial comment compared to some of the other issues that people are talking about. I live on at the 9th and 9th neighborhood, so I've witnessed the re-engineering of 9th South during the last few years. And right at the intersection of 9th and 9th, the number 9 bus, which runs east and west on 9th South, The way the configuration is after all the redo is the westbound number 9 has to stop right in the travel way on a single lane at that intersection. That backs up the westbound traffic. After all the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on this re-engineering of that street, how is it possible that that happened? A bus has to stop in the one lane that's available for traffic, and westbound traffic just backs up. It clogs the intersection. I'm not a traffic engineer. I am an engineer, but to me it's perfectly obvious this could have been avoided. Money could have been better spent. Thank you.
Next will be Misty Myers, followed by Monica Hilding, and then Jeff Baer. Misty, you may now unmute.
Hi, City Council. I'm just here to kind of remind you that you still can call for a ceasefire in Gaza. It's really needed now more than ever since forces have gone to Rafah, which is supposed to be the only safe zone left for Palestinians, and they're being burned alive in the place where they're supposed to be safe. Estimates, including people under the rubble who have been burned to ash, go from around 40,000 to 200,000 people dead. I don't understand why it's so hard to just make a simple statement saying that you support a ceasefire and saying that you would want like peace. I appreciate you guys working on some of the homeless issues by putting in bathrooms and stuff, but I hope that you can do more stuff with that also. And I am very disappointed in the budget, especially with the mayor's salary increase as well as the giant center that you guys are trying to build and increase our tax dollars when most people can hardly afford rent or groceries. Please consider these things and thank you. Bye.
Next will be Monica Hilding, followed by Jeff Baer, and then Meg Griffiths. Monica, you may now unmute.
Good evening, City Council. Thank you for this time to speak. I'm calling to voice my opinion about the proposed development in downtown Salt Lake for the sports center. I think that the money could be spent in different ways. We have a tremendous opportunity right now with the federal money for infrastructure development to finally put into play the Rio Grande project of burying the train tracks that divide the east and west part of this city. And as Jen Colby mentioned, the putting underground of Third West, it is just, you can do better. Reach higher. We can have a beautiful city, and putting the sports center and subsidizing billionaires as opposed to building a downtown that is friendly to pedestrians, bicyclists, and people who use public transportation to get around. We don't need more roads, cars. We need more open space, trees, gardens. My daughter recommended maybe a botanical garden rather than the sports arena. Some people think differently. Thank you for your time.
Next will be Jeff Baer, followed by Meg Griffiths, and then Larry Sugars. Jeff is here in person.
Try that.
Better?
Yep.
There. Okay. I want to make a general comment about general comments. I have neighbors and members of Liberty Wells Community Council that I encourage to come make comments, but unfortunately many of them have families, kids, and it's hard to get here by 7:30 to register. About a month ago, I walked in, I walked up to the floor to the desk at 7:31. There were no comment cards, there was nobody there. I couldn't comment that night. how about an online registration for general comments? It's at the end of the meeting. That way someone that can't be here right at 7:30, by 7:30, they can still register online and be able to make a comment. Just a suggestion.
And next will be Meg Griffiths, followed by Larry Sugars. Meg, you may now unmute.
Just to comment on the last commenter, that policy was recently changed because the city council was trying to silence us. So we feel your pain. So I am here, just like a commenter a few people ago, just to reiterate that there is still time, still a chance, still a request from the public that you pass a ceasefire resolution so that the world can hear our voice in Salt Lake, that we want the atrocities and the genocide happening in Palestine to end. And then just kind of general comments about the budget at large is that the things that I've been learning so far with the massive mayoral raise, as well as, like someone previously said, subsidizing billionaires to build these 2 different sports centers, raising our taxes, increasing the police budget astronomically in a way that if we just use those dollars instead of policing people, especially the unhoused community, into community resources for the general public, for the unhoused community, I think it would do a lot more good. There's no data that says that over policing is doing any good to our community. And so if we could get that money into the hands of actual people who need it to live and get by, that's where I would like to see my money, my tax dollars going. I'm really unimpressed with the budget, particularly the police budget raising, all the money going to the sports center, and the ridiculous raise that the mayor is giving herself. Thank you.
And next will be Larry Sugars. Larry's is here in person.
Thank you. Some of you know me. First off, I want to talk about the line worker. Got to watch the time. There are 2 people on just line people. One was with garbage sanitation. She helped me out. She kind of showed me what was going on. That's where the rubber meets the road. Those kinds of people help us. And she brought and I don't know what her name was, but she brought it to the attention with a blue garbage can. I thought that was great. And then today, his name was Trent Breeze with Streets. They came back, and I'm bringing this up because those are the kind of people that affect citizens. I'm a citizen. I've been here a long time. And it was cleaning the streets, and because I was parked out there, it threw rocks all over the place. So I just got there, and I saw him, and I jumped in my truck, and I followed him out there, and he came back and fixed it. Those are the people that really, I think, help make a city better. Now, not to be disrespectful, but I've been trying to get a hold of Lisa Schaefer for months now, or no, actually a year. She never returns her calls. And I think she's the deputy mayor. It's important that we stay in touch with each other. Now, just a little bit of background, because now I'm running out of time. I'm the one who originally put together the boarded building program for Salt Lake City. So I've been around a while. Alejandro Puy, I think it was you. And on my street, the speed limit's now 30 miles an hour. Wow, thank you so much. I don't know if you did that, but thanks so much for that. And finally, why I came here. Why does the city charge so much for chickens? Most times when you do a fee as a senior citizen, you get a discount. The fees just went up for chickens, and if you know anything about chickens, you don't raise them for the money because there's no money there.
Time.
Thank you so much.
That was the final registered commenter.
And thank you, Taylor, and also oh, no, okay. Go ahead. One more commenter, Taylor.
Thank you for letting me comment. So my name is Christina Robb, and I serve as the chair of East Liberty Park Community Organization. Tonight, I wanted to talk to you about walking with parents and students of East High in the University Neighbor Partners walkout to ask for a Glendale High School. After 30 years of living behind East High School and raising children there, I really support these families because I've seen firsthand what happens to the kids that fall between the cracks. The ones that there are not resources from the school district to help, and unfortunately they don't hang out on school property, so they hang out with me all day while I plant tomatoes or do whatever I'm doing in my yard. One thing I want to say is a lot of these kids are very angry, very, very angry. So in our community council, although it's on the east side, we do see a very angry youth culture. And, we want to help these kids. So we have done a couple of things. We have talked to some people at the state legislature that are friends and coworkers, as well as the SROs. And we want to just ask you tonight if there's any way that we could start talking with the Millers about the Miller Ford Raceway and potentially getting some of these kids who are angry and bored to get into some sanctioned racing that makes it safer, except for on the streets. And I just wanted to put that in your ear. Thank you very much.
I want to thank all the public commenters tonight. I appreciate the comments and the evening together. So that ends our general comments. I move on to item new business, and we have no new business.
Mr. Chair, could I take a personal privilege for 1 second?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. I just to clarify some of the important pieces, I think that there was a few comments related to public comment itself. There is a way of registering for public comment online, and we probably should reshare that. But the members of the community can comment online and register online with enough time. So we might want to share that. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Councilor. All right, there is no new business. We're moving on to item K, unfinished business. And we have item K1, which is an ordinance of economic development loan fund for the Shades of Pale, Inc. I look for a motion.
Chair, I move that the council adopt the ordinance approving a $3,500 loan for Shades of Pale Incorporated from the Economic Development Loan Fund.
$350,000?
Yes.
Second, and I'll clarify it's $350,000.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion from Councilmember Lopez Chavez, a second from Councilmember Mono. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously. Moving on to the consent agenda, I will look for a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Wharton, a second from Councilmember Pui. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. We are adjourned.
Thank you.